Okay, so hey Daryl. Hopefully Christmas went well. Yeah, it was good. Hopefully the same to you. All right. Let me just start up here. Here we go. Okay. Hey guys, what's up? So I'll be doing something a bit different today. Get away from the noise and the smoke of the city. Okay. It's good. But alright, so today we'll be taking a look at the servants for 2023. A lot of good servants coming this year. I'm looking forward to a lot of them, but well, generally right now. Oh, this... Tom's. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. At least the New Year noise is finally over. Until the New Year noise? Well, yeah. It might be a bit, I don't know, like for me, I don't mind the firework noise too much. It's fine. But I get what you mean. Okay, wait, how am I gonna preface this? Alright. I'm planning on basically I'm gonna go through a bunch of the servants for next year, for 2023 on the English server. So a lot of good servants to look forward to. And then I'll probably condense this and then upload it on the YouTube channel. So at least it gives a nice, concise description or discussion for each of the new servants that we will be getting. So my thought process for this is I will discuss each of these servants one at a time, and then what I think about them in general. And I mean, it really depends on whether they are a must summon for you, but it's more on I will recommend servants based on how rare their banner will be, more of that, rather than recommending servants. Because, you know, different servants, while there are definitely some that would be more, how would I put this? There would definitely be some that a lot of people would say to summon priority over others, but it also depends, like, how often do they appear, how often does their banner or rate up come back. So you're telling me is go for Melisandre, right? We'll see. But, yeah, so in short, I'll be going through each of the servants for 2023 in the English server that we are going to be expecting for next year. Pretty much because of the way we got pity early, the banners might be a bit different. I had originally planned to do this on a per banner basis, but since there might be changes because of us getting the pity system early, there might be changes on how they do the banners. So instead, I decided to just go through each of the new servants one at a time. So we'll start at servant number 302, which would be our New Year's servant. And that is Senji Muramasa. So you can see his various ascensions here. Oh, I am using the Chaldea app. I kind of prefer to use this sometimes, like when discussing servants over fandom. While I do like to use fandom, the thing is sometimes the ads in fandom get annoying. So I prefer using this. So this is the Chaldea app. Anyways, so Muramasa, he is a Saber class servant, limited Saber class servant. I would say he is definitely a good servant to start the year with. A very good servant. He's basically kind of like a glass cannon. He is arts, AoE, and he does very well in looping or farming scenarios, even in 90 plus nodes. He with the way his kit is, he basically has almost every kind of attack buff in the game. So let's start with his first skill. Basically, all of the cards are have increased performance. Most of these stats I will be saying are the stat performance at level 10. So, yes, Stargather, buff performance to all types of cards, and also a 15 Star Bomb. So, basically, Muramasa's first skill is Geronimo's whole kit. Yeah, pretty much. Kind of odd when you think about it that way, huh? There it is. Okay. It's but still. All right. So Karmic Vision A, ignore invincible, star drop rate increase, and crit strength up. Very useful skill, especially when you have... I remember the moment Muramasa was released, and I think it was... I'm trying to remember which event it was. Maybe Saber Wars 2 rerun, or the Akihabara event, or maybe even the Tengu event. But regardless, there were quite a number of nodes where you only needed to bring Muramasa, because he could basically... How you would do it is he would NP 2 nodes, 2 waves, and then one of the waves where it was a single enemy, he could just crit damage it down. As long as he had one face guard, he can pretty much crit it down because of the amount of crit damage he gets and the way his card performance works. So, really good. And not only that, he also has a 50% NP charge at this level 10, which is really nice. And then what's even added there is whenever he attacks with a normal card, he gets a 10% NP charge every time he uses a normal card. So normally in looping scenarios, you wouldn't have to worry about that, but still, that's still a very interesting skill to have on his set, especially when dealing with 90 plus nodes. He does have a whole bunch of passive skills, so increases debuff resistance, arts up, crit strength up, damage against kings? Sure. As for the append skills, I probably won't go through most of the append skills. Normally, I would always recommend to do load magical energy or mana loading, however you want to pronounce it. As for the other two, that's more on your discretion, especially since how the way servant coins are planned out now, are given out right now. And then we have his Noble Phantasm, which is an arts AoE, and every time he fires off his NP, he gets arts up for 3 turns, so which makes him very effective for looping. Now, he does currently so far. He has had only 2 banners, which is going to be in January of next year, and then what was that 2 years after that? So that would be in 2024 around December when Lost Belt, the Road to Lost Belt 7, Road to 7 Lost Belt 6 banner drops, which is this one. So that was in December. We recently had that. So there are very few banners for Muramasa. You could say you could roll for him now. Although I would say if you already have a bunch of arts loopers, such as Space Ishtar, Brain is... Alright, so yeah, Space Ishtar or... Oh my god, my brain. Okay, now I remember. So if you already have a bunch of arts looping units, like, let's say, Space Ishtar, Summer Musashi, you know, the usual go-to arts loopers, Muramasa might not necessarily be a must-pull, but if you need that AoE arts unit, Muramasa is a really good contender. And, again, his skill set is really good. Basically, all of his buffs are attack buffs. He does not have a single defense buff, so he's kind of a glass cannon in that aspect. So the next servant we get, which would be... Wait, when do we get Tyra? Tyra we get a little later in the month in the Tengu event, which is after the Saber Wars 2 event. Now, the thing with Tyra, or Ushi Avenger, as I'd like to call her, she's essentially a quick-based unit, single target. The concern I have with her quite a number of times is that she is very niche, especially when attacking enemies with the Genji trait. So, most of the time, she will do a lot of damage, but that's more on situational things. But anyways, let's go with her kit first. So, increases own damage against Genji enemies for 3 turns, and then increases own critical damage for 3 turns. Charges own NP gauge, and reduces party's critical star absorption by 100. Except self. Wait, reduces... Didn't I say reduce? Reduces party's critical star absorption. The thing I would say with Tyra, though, is... I mean, sure, she is a single target Avenger, and a lot of the times you would have... At least... if you have been playing the game for quite a while, you would have somebody else that you could bring for single target. And with Genji type units, there are very few enemies of that trait. So, like, which is usually, if you've played LD 5.5, pretty much almost all of the servants featured there have Genji trait. But yeah, it's these specific units. But still, and you would rarely have situations where you would need to fight off against them. But still, I mean, at least it gives her a niche that she excels at. She does have Grand Self Guts status for 1 time, 3 turns. Sure. Increases own insta-kill resistance for 3 turns. Grand Self Guts on activate for 3 turns. When Guts status is activated, grants Self Thirst for Vengeance buff for 10 turns. So this Vengeance trait only activates when her Guts is triggered. So this modifier on her Noble Phantasm, you'd rarely find a situation where you're able to have that trigger. So that can be kind of a missed opportunity, like if you're not able to have it trigger. But if you're able to pull it off, she'll do insane amounts of damage. But yeah, that does make it a bit difficult to work around with her kit. Then grants self-evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns, increases own attack for 3 turns, inflicts curse with 1,500 damage for 3 turns to all enemies. Oh, I guess if you are going to try to use her, I guess you bring her with Shen Gong, have Shen Gong take her out, have the guts proc, and that way she will basically do as much damage as she can. So of course she has the usual Avenger passive. Most Avengers have this passive where they get NP per turn, and then they have increased NP gain when damaged. So there's that. Sorry, self-restoration is the NP gauge per turn. But anyways, regardless. So would I recommend Tyra? If you have Scotty, sure. If you don't, I mean, you could always, like, if you summon for her now and then wait for, let's say, Oberon to release. More on that later, but like, yeah, if you have other support servants that can assist Tyra, sure, you could go for her. The thing is, like, I remember when she first released, a lot of people put her on the support lists, but now I rarely see her on my support list. So that kind of says, like, there are certain situations, sure, you'll use her, but most of the time, she's very niche. So I don't think you'd see her too often. But I mean, if you're an Ushi fan or such, sure, go for it. Well, that's gonna take forever, of course. Yeah. So that's her various ascensions. Okay. But yeah, would I recommend? If anything, you know what I think I'll do after we go through all of this, all of the servants, I'll probably then figure out, like, I'll probably make a tier list on my personal preference on whether a servant should be a priority summon or not, something like that. Without the Tyra makeup, I mean, it would be nice if it would give her a costume, sure. Now, Kichi Hogan or Tengu. She is the welfare from the Tengu event. Quick-based servant. A lot of people seem to compare her to Summer Scotty. A kind of like a slightly better Summer Scotty, in a way. But anyways, so her first skill is increases own quick performance for 3 turns, grants self-evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns. Which is a fairly nice skill. I just don't like it that it has an attack buff, and a survival buff on the same skill. Normally, I'd prefer to have survival buffs on a different skill, but regardless, it's there. And that does last for 3 turns, so sure. Charge it, and then her second skill charges one ally's NP gauge, increases their crit star absorption for 1 turn. So that's a targetable charge, 20% charge. Sometimes, like, I feel like 20% charge is never enough nowadays. Like, the sweet spot is kind of like the 30%, but still, at least it does, and it only, the Star Gather Up, sure, it's only for 1 turn, but still, I think that I would have preferred it to be last a little longer, but what can you do? 6 Secrets Arts of War. So third skill increases party's attack for 3 turns, and then party's NP generation rate for 3 turns. So there's an NP gain of 20% for 3 turns. Sure, that definitely helps, especially for her in a way, since she is a quick-based AoE Noble Phantasm. And since she is a welfare unit, if you get all of her copies, that's NP damage of 1000% at NP 5. She does grant quick up first for 1 turn as her overcharge. Although it is quite on the low side, if I would say. And then remove defense buffs. Does that trigger first or after? I think it's after. So removes defense buffs on all enemies. So sure. I mean, she's definitely an interesting... definitely a interesting welfare, but I feel like, especially that we know some of the other welfares that are going to be coming out in JP in the coming years, I feel like her kit might be need a little bit of tweaking, I would say, but that's just my personal opinion. Like, even during the Tengu event, I rarely used her. I just didn't. But then again, in JP, I don't have Scotty, so that, I guess that if that's any indication, if you don't have Scotty, you might want to skip a few of the quick servants. But that's just me. Anyways, so after Kichi Hogan, the Tengu event, we have Valentine's. So we have Karen, who some of you may know, especially if you're familiar with the Fate Hollow Ataraxia. My favorite ascension is her second ascension. I like the contrast of the red costume, red outfit with her white hair. What can I say? She is a ruler class servant. But first, let's start with the skills. So, grants self-invincibility for 3 attacks for 3 turns. Let's see. Grants self-regeneration buff for 3 turns. Absorbs party NP gauge by 10% except self every turn. So she'll basically keep absorbing her party's NP charge. And for the amount... Let me see. So for the amount she absorbs, she basically gains to herself. So she drains 10% from each of the party members. She gets a 20% increase in NP charge. Let's see. Grants party invincibility 1 attack for 3 turns. Wait. The amount of NP drains equal to the amount of change. And grants party invincibility for 1 attack, 3 turns. Except stuff. Okay. Okay, sorry. I need to redo this. So, her first skill grants self. So, she gets invincibility for 3 attacks, 3 turns, and then self-regeneration buff for 3 turns, which absorbs party NP gauge by 10%, except herself. So, she gains 20% charge if she has 2 other members in the party. So 10% from each member. That will occur for 3 turns. And then she also grants the other members in the party invincibility for 1 attack for 3 turns. Then increases party NP gain as well, except herself, by 20% for 3 turns. Okay, sure. Golden Arrow, 500% chance to draw enemy attention, so basically taunt. Charges own NP gauge and reduces all enemies' NP gauge by 1. Reduces their attack for 3 turns and reduces their defense for 3 turns. Interesting. And then she has increased NP gain of 30%. Okay. So... that. Tail looks cute. Oh yeah. That'll be our next one. Zolas, thank you for the follow. Okay. What else? 1 second, chat. I'm just double checking something. Anyways. You see the link. You can use this one. Alright. So this is the Chaldea app that I'm using. Anyways. Got the link live stream on Fate Project 2022. Yep. It's on the game news. Alright. Are these leaks or official? Official. These are based on the JP server. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so sorry, I'll repeat the second skill. So the second skill is basically a taunt, and increases her NP gain, self NP gain, while also debuffing enemies with charge loss, attack down, and defense down. That's in a nutshell. Mana Burst, love A, so increases all cards' performance by 20%, and also NP gain. Wow, she has a lot of skills that increase her NP gain. Well, not her. I mean, increase NP gain. So basically, all of her skills increase NP gain. And then the third skill also reduces NP's enemy gauge by 1. Okay. Her passives increases debuff success rate, increases in critical strength. Debuff resist down, attack up. Okay. Core of the Goddess B, apply damage plus increase debuff resistance to self. Iron Willed A, so immune to terror, charm, and resist buster cards. Okay. To increase extra attack card. Okay, that's the defense skills, right? So as for her Noble Phantasm, it does get a buff, but that will be in year 2024. As is now, yeah, it gets quite the increase next year. So originally, it was apply NP damage up to self, which is for 1 turn, which is her overcharge effect. Deal damage to all enemies, which increases depending on NP level, of course. Apply resist down quick, and 20% to all enemies for 3 turns. Apply immunity versus... Okay, so nullify buff to enemies. 1 time for 3 turns. Sure. And then that gets upgraded. Basically, what the upgrade does is increases the overall damage while doing special damage to chaotic alignment. So that's the buff to her NP. This is actually quite a good buff. There are quite a lot of enemies that are chaotic alignment. And with this buff, she is one of the highest damage dealers for ruler class in the game currently. Now, would you roll for her? To be honest, in my humble opinion, I would say you could wait for next year when she gets... I mean, you could wait for her second banner when she gets a buff. Of course, you could say... It would really... I mean, as usual, it would depend on what your... Someone know a good tier for future characters? Like a JP tier list? In general, I mean, there are tier lists. I just don't... I just usually don't follow them. Because your account would definitely depend on how you're able to make use of your servants, what you have, who would you need. But yeah, so currently there were only 2 banners, so that's Valentine's and Valentine Rerun for Karen. So that makes her quite rare in terms of trying to get. But, you know, a lot of the servants, I would say, you know, you could probably roll for this year. But if you're trying to get, especially a lot of the LB6 servants, you might want to hold off. But I'm just saying, there's not that many banners that Karen appears in. So it's pretty much just the Valentine's banners. Now, would I personally summon for her? Not really. I mean, I will try, maybe. Because I am quite a fan of, the way she looks, and that she is from Hollow Ataraxia. Now for Galatea. So after the Valentine's event, we get the Akihabara event. And Galatea is the berserker that goes on raid up. She is permanent, so she can spook you, which is very similar to another berserker, which is Vlad, which is something to take note, because a lot of people do compare her to Vlad. Like, I remember when she came up, a lot of people were saying she was like basically a better Vlad Zerker. But when Vlad got his buff, he kind of became better than Galatea, so it was kind of odd in a way. But anyways, let's start with her skills. So she will increase Art's performance for 3 turns, Buster performance for 3 turns, and then increases own buff removal resistance 1 time for 3 turns. Okay, which is nice. And then she charges her own NP gauge by 20%. Again, I feel like 20% is like a bit, like, I don't know. For me, I feel like it's not enough. I think 30% is always a sweet spot, but anyways. So she has Guts for 1 time for 3 turns and is stackable with other Guts. Increases own defense for 2 times, 3 turns. So rather than just increasing her defense for 3 turns, it only increases her defense for 2 times. Although that is 100% increase. So that is quite a huge buff in terms of defense. But again, only for 2 times for 3 turns. And then she has Aphrodite's Grace. It does get buffed, I think. Does it get buffed? Oh, later in the year. Okay. So let's see. Grant self-regeneration buff 3 times. For 3 turns. Recovers party's HP every turn for 3 turns. Removes party's debuffs every turn for 3 turns. Okay. And then that gets upgraded to add Grant self on attack activate buff for 3 turns. Charges own NP gauge when normal attacking with Buster cards. So this is similar to Muramasa's skill, where for every normal card he gets charged, but for Galatea, there is a condition, it has to be a Buster card. And that is a 10% charge per hit. So similar. Of course, she has Madness Enhancement X, with her being a Berserker, which increases Buster performance. And then increases debuff resist. Okay. Her Noble Phantasm is single target Arts Noble Phantasm. For every time she fires it off, NP strength up for 3 turns, and then deals damage to 1 enemy, while also draining 1 charge from that enemy. So, similar to how Vlad works, and she does get stronger for every time she's able to loop. She is permanent, so there's no real reason to prioritize her. Prioritize trying to summon her. And if you already have Vlad, she is very similar to how Vlad performs, especially when Vlad gets his buff, like about a week or 2 later after her banner comes out. You don't necessarily, but then again, it depends really on when they decide to release that buff for Vlad. But regardless, if you do want to get her, sure, but maybe you can hold off on something for her and then just hope that she spooks you. Well, I guess it depends on whether you want spooks or not, but, I wouldn't necessarily... What would I say? How would I say this? I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to try to summon for her. Especially since I already have Vlad. But, still. And then after Galatea, we go to Miss Crane, who is the 5-star servant from the... new 5-star servant from the Idol event. I believe there has been no other banner with her? Oh no, download campaign. Okay, so sure. She's had 2 banners. So the FGO Waltz in the Moonlight Lost Room was the event where she was released. Her kit is a very interesting one, but I feel like well, let's go through the kit first before I start going on a rant. So, Lady's Affection for garments. So basically, she eventually becomes the person who runs the costume shop for you in Chaldea, in a way. But anyways, grants party invincibility except self for 1 turn, increases party's critical star generation rate except self for 3 turns, and gains crit stars based on the number of costume-owning allies except self. So, as long as the allies she's with has a costume, you get more crit stars per turn. Yeah, you get crit stars per turn. Anyways. So this is an interesting survival skill. Gains crit stars based on the number. Okay. Yep. So this is gonna be important later on when you see her second skill, which is charges own NP gauge and deals 2,000 damage without killing the self. So she basically gets minus 2,000 HP with a 500% chance to draw attention. So in other words, taunt to party except self. Now, charging the NP gauge, it's a 100% charge. The problem is to activate it. Oh, it doesn't say here. Should say though. To activate the 100% charge, you need 20 crit stars to activate. It should say here, but it doesn't. Which is why it's important to have people with costumes in her party, because if you have 2 people with costumes, she will get the... Oh, it's her NP. Okay. Alright. My mistake. Right. Yeah, it's her NP, isn't it? Yeah, she can't fire off her NP. Yep. Usable only when there are 20 crit stars or more. So yeah. Okay, sorry. So... Sorry, there was a bunch of shouting outside. You see Morgan? Yep, in a bit. It's still too early. Not yet. At least we still have a tons of CEs with the 20 star bomb. That's true. So yeah. Sorry about that. Let me redo. So basically, the first skill is important because it gives 10 crit stars for every servant that has a costume that's in the party. That is important because her noble phantasm needs 20 crit stars to be able to be used. Of course, there are a bunch of CEs that can offset that, so you don't necessarily need servants with costumes. There are the first CE that comes to mind is Golden Carp, which has a 20 crit star bomb when entering the battle. So that's instant right there. So normally when I have Miss Crane in the party, that's the CE I have on her most of the time. Because her second skill is a 100% charge. And then her third skill increases one ally's crit star absorption for 3 turns, increases their crit damage for 3 turns, grants them insta-kill immunity for 3 turns, and deals 1000 damage without killing to self. So she, again, loses another 1000 HP. Though, whoever she targets does get Stargather, crit damage, and immune to death. So sure. Her passives: territory creation C, item construction, increases parties receive buffed success rate by 10% while self is on the field. That's kind of important because her NP I feel like is unique in a way that like normally if you would use Arash is because you'd want, or like how Arash works is where he'd kill himself while killing the enemy wave. That way the support unit can come in. For her though, she is a support NP. Applies attack up to the first party member. On first other party member except self. So normally this would be the party member that's on the leftmost side of the field. But I kind of got used to putting her on the leftmost side so that way she would buff the character in the center, because the gimmick of the idle event plays into that. So I just got used to that. But it's usually the first other party member on the field. So in other words, the leftmost character, aside from Miss Crane. So if you put Miss Crane on the center, it's the character on the left that gets buffed. You put Miss Crane on the left, it's the character on the center that gets buffed. But again, you can only use the NP if there are 20 or more crit stars. Oops. And then what her NP does, it buffs the other party member by 40% with attack up, increases their NP strength for 3 turns, and then increases their NP gain via overcharge. Wait, NP gain? Or I thought it was overcharge. I thought it was NP charge. Charge NP, first other party member except self. Overcharge. Where is the overcharge? That's your NP gain. I feel like they need to fix that. Because like I would remember, there were like depending on when you use her NP, it would help with your party. So like for example, if you want to give your DPS more attack and NP gain, you'd use her NP first. But like if you're in a challenge situation where your DPS does not get enough charge, you can use your main damage dealer's NP and then followed up by Miss Crane. That way you'd help by giving attack up and additional charge on the next turn for your DPS unit. And then moves her to last reserve slot. So she basically forces herself to the back line, and then the character on the 4th slot will be swapped in. So in a way, this is useful for like, you know, how you would use Plug Suit to bring in more support units to buff your DPS. That's kind of a way to do it. The thing is, nowadays, I have rarely had a situation where I would need to use Miss Crane, because it kind of feels very confusing to use her, especially in situations where you want to, like, if you bring her in situations like for example Lotto, of course you'd want to have a CE that drops crit stars so that she can fire off her NP, but normally most of the time you'd prefer to bring a Lotto CE. And then when it guards, sure, but then I could just bring 2 servants with costumes. But the thing is, normally you'd bring a support unit, which would be, for example, Scotty, Caster Artoria, or maybe even Tamamo. I feel like the only one that would apply to that would be Tamamo, because she got a costume recently. But aside from that, no other support character would drop crit stars. So, of course, you'd want to make sure you have your lineup and not have to worry about Miss Crane's requirements. So that's what kind of makes it a bit more difficult to deal or to use her, because of all of the requirements she has. Do the costume servants need to be in the front line? Yes. They have to be with her on stage, basically. If you want to do it by her character in a way, they have to be on stage. For first skill to Brock, you need them out with her. Yeah. So, but I would remember using her before, because I was not able to get Oberon because I had spent all my Saint Quartz on trying to get Morgan, Melisyn, Koyanskaya. So by the time Oberon came around, I wasn't able to get him. The thing is, I needed one more unit to give me charge. So Miss Crane was the only one I could use in the meantime, not with me not having Oberon. Because I was already lacking the amount of charge, because I had to basically use like double Castoria, Merlin, and then I had to have also Miss Crane so that she can force herself out. Anyways, regardless. But nowadays, I rarely have a reason to use Miss Crane. So whether I'd recommend her, not really, especially when we have much more. When we have. I don't want to be mean, but I feel like more effective. I guess I'll just say more effective support units coming in just a matter of months. So she released, I believe. Wait, when was she released? In April. April. And in June or July, we're going to be getting... probably July. We're going to be getting 2 support units that are going to be a lot more convenient than her. So, I wouldn't really recommend to roll for her, per se. Mysterious Idol X Alter, so Mix Alter, as I'd like to call her. She is the welfare unit from the Idol event. She is a foreigner class, quick AoE servant. So, Superb Round Dancing B increases own quick performance for 3 times 3 turns, increases own buster performance for 3 times 3 turns, grants self evasion for 1 attack 3 turns. So basically, quick and buster effectiveness increase by 30%, and then has an evade. She is our first foreigner welfare. Yes, exactly. And then she has increased own crit damage for 1 turn, increases own damage against mechanical enemies for 3 turns. I feel like do we face off a lot of mechanical enemies? Well, I guess the Olympian gods, sure, or servants, sure, and Babbage, to name a few, but it's still 50% additional damage against them, though, so there is that. But I don't think there are a lot that are... Wait, would there be any mechanical that are Berserkers? So that's Frankenstein, Lubu, Shang Yu, sure, Mecha Ellie's, Gonzo, Frankenstein. Oh, there are actually quite a few Berserkers that are mechanical. Galatea. Ah, okay. So, yeah, sure. Helter Skelters. Yeah. So far, she's the only servant that does damage to mechanical enemies. Sure. Not too bad. And then her 3rd skill, Party Attack Up. Very simple. Party Attack Up for 3 turns, and then restores HP to party. Sure. And you do get, and if you do the event to completion, you get 5 copies of her, which gives her special attack damage to against evil. And then, of course, so apply quick card to sorry. So her NP is quick AoE. So she will first buff quick to self. That's a 40% card effectiveness. Quick card effectiveness. Sorry. Oh, that's her overcharge effect. Sorry. So that's 20% at the usual, but up to a maximum of 40% at 500% over. Is that 500% overcharge? Yeah. And then dealing damage with super effective damage of 150% against enemies with evil alignment. So yeah. But yeah, we pretty much get her for free. She is the welfare unit for the idol event. I highly recommend you do the idol event. There are a lot of costumes that we can get from that event. And then, so yeah, that is, when was that? So that's around May. So we have about a month or two break between that and the next new servant, because we have a bunch of other banners, and then summer rerun, which we might get. I mean, depends really on how the English server will do their schedule, but I'm assuming that the summer rerun will be pushed to after LB6, which is kicked off with Morgan as the first new limited unit that we have. She is a 5-star berserker, and is probably my second priority summon for next year. Of course, I'll eventually explain who will be my first priority summon, but you know, for now, Morgan. So she has a, well, let's go through her kit first, then I'll explain. So first skill, so this is mostly attack, charge to self, but she does buff the party attack. Oh my god, So her first skill is increases party's attack for 3 turns, and then charges her own NP gauge by 30%, while reducing all enemies' defense for 3 turns. I kind of keep forgetting that that's there for the 3 turns, because normally I just use this skill for the charge. And this is a 6-turn cooldown skill. That's very important. 6 turns at level 10. The reason for that is this allows her to be able to use her pretty much all of her skills. All of her skills have low cooldown requirements. Well, except for the third skill is kind of long, but I think the first and second skill really are the important ones. So you're able to use them both with Koyanskaya. But anyways, I keep getting distracted from what I want to do. I just want to focus on describing the skills. But anyway, so yeah. So she increases party's attack for 3 turns, charges her NP gauge by 30%, and then reduces all enemies' defense for 3 turns. Her second skill increases NP gauge, so this is a targetable skill, so you can increase charge for 20% to a single ally, and also increases NP gain. But this is for 3 turns to all allies, so this is a really nice skill to have for Morgan, especially with the way her kit works. So in essence, she has a 50, like if she charges her own, like if she charges herself, she has a 50% charge. 30% from the first skill, 20% from the second skill. But what's nice is that you can play around with the second skill in case another party member might need it. Especially with the team comps that Morgan is able to be put in. And then her third skill grants self guts 1 time for 3 turns, increases crit star absorption, increases crit star damage, and grants self regeneration buff. Reduces all enemies' attack 1 turn every turn for 3 turns. Reduces their critical attack chance 1 turn every turn for 3 turns. And then she also gains crit stars. So this skill does a lot, but if anything, what I like about this skill, it's basically an essential skill for her when she wants to do crit damage, because not only does it have star absorption, not only does it increase crit damage, but it also has a star bomb of 15 stars. So, like, if there's a turn where I just want to ensure or do a lot of crit damage, especially with her buster cards, yeah, the third skill is a really, really good skill to have. Rarely do I take note of the attack down and crit down on the enemy, because normally they'd be dead. So I really wouldn't notice the debuffs every turn for the enemy, but there are situations where you do notice that. A bit more on that once we go through her entire kit. So she has Madness Enhancement, so Buster Up Effectiveness, Debuff Resist, Debuff Success Rate, Increase Arts Card Effectiveness, and increases own crit attack damage. Crit attack resistance by 20%. So not only does she have a skill that reduces enemies' crit rate, but she also has a passive skill. So very nice. And then her Noble Phantasm is Roadless Camelot, which is a AoE Buster Noble Phantasm. So apply special damage up versus Knights of Round or Fey enemies of 50% on self for 1 turn. Deal damage with super effective damage against human. So that's a lot of modifiers already. So all enemies level and overcharge. Apply Curse of 1000 to all enemies for 5 turns, and then apply Overcharge up of 1 on party 1 time for 3 turns. So that's a lot. So not only does she does effective damage against Knights of the Round Table or Fey enemies, but if they are human attributes, she also does special attack damage to them. So she has a lot of modifiers. Although I would say that her NP damage is a bit on the low side, but regardless, I feel like what really makes her stand out is having the overcharge of 1 time for 3 turns. So, and that's to party. So my experience with Morgan is she is an excellent farmer and an excellent challenge quest unit. What are the multipliers? Oh, they're over here. So 300% for NP1, 400% NP2, 450% NP3, and then up to 500% damage at NP5. And then the special attack damage is based on overcharge, which is a maximum of 200% at overcharge 500%. So it is a bit low, but you have to consider she does have these modifiers. So she does quite a bit of damage even at only like 300% damage at NP1. So there is that. But still, I feel like I have used her so much, especially on the past year, that she has been out. Like, I've used her in farming situations because with her being Berserker, she does effective damage against everybody. And then with the right support units, namely Coin Sky of Light, she's able to 3-turn as long as you have a K-Scope. And her ability to loop definitely is affected by the amount of charge she has to self. So she has 30% charge and 20% charge. What definitely makes Morgan also stand out is, if you're already familiar with the Immortal comp, you should be familiar. I mean, you should be able to integrate Morgan quite easily. So the Immortal comp, at least currently in the English server, is Merlin, Castor Artoria, and Himiko. What you would do is you would, if you don't have Himiko, you could use Morgan instead for the immortal comp. So how that would work is you'd always try to get all 3 units to max NP charge and fire them off at the same time. The reason for that is the party overcharge of Morgan. So you use Morgan's NP first, do damage, and it increases the party overcharge by 1 level. And then when Merlin fires off his NP, he gives, of course, the NP gain, NP charge, the HP regen, and the stars per turn. And then when Caster Artoria, who will be the last to fire off her NP, and her NP gives true invulnerability stacks. Doing it this way will give her 4 invuln stacks for everybody in the party. So hence why it's a really good team, especially for Challenge Quest content. They're able to survive through most situations. Now, for farming, you'd usually use her with Koyanskaya of Light. I mean, sure, I'll discuss more of that later, but the short version is that Morgan, as long as she's able to use her charge buff, so she'll start with a MLV K-Scope or a K-Scope with her append skill, so that's 100%. You use her buffs on the second turn for the 50% charge, 1 Koyanskaya for 150% charge from Koyanskaya. And then for the next turn, you use the other Koyanskayas, so you're doing double Koyanskaya Morgan. You use the other Koyanskaya's 50% charge. What's nice about Morgan's skill cooldowns is by the time you get to the 3rd turn, and then you use Koyanskaya's charge, which also has skill cooldown, and then of course you have to bring the Atlas Mystico to reduce the skills further. Morgan's skills will already be refreshed for the final 50% charge on the 3rd turn. So essentially, it is what do you call this? Brain. It is a way that she's able to loop. The K-Scope and Append skill are kind of a requirement to have. If you have MLB K-Scope, great. If you have K-Scope, you need the Append skill, because you need that 100% charge on the 1st turn. Without that 100% charge, you're not able to make use of Morgan's kit with Koyanskaya. But again, I'll go more into that later as we get to Koyanskaya. Another thing with Morgan, this is more on the banners. Morgan is the first LB6 unit we get, but she is the most, or at least she has had already 4 separate banners. So she had one in the LB6 banner, and then the LB6 Part 2 banner, which is 2 months later. And then she gets another banner a year, not even a year, but less than a year later. And then we recently got her 4th banner in Morganfest in November. So the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of the top tier units, so if you could see here above me, or to my side here, am I looking at the right way? You have, wait, here. So if you see the servants here, we have Morgan, Gawain, Tristan, Lancelot, Percival, Koyanskaya of Light, Habitrot, Oberon. I mean, sure, I'll even include the summer servants: Okita, Anastasia, Corday, Da Vinci, Kama, Canis, Sei, Shonagon. There are a lot of really good units, and this is all jam-packed in a span of 3 months. So, if you're free to play, and if you wanna try to at least work around, like, because we do have pity, so that's kind of what that's a good thing that we've got going for us. We do have pity for these banners, but the thing is, since they're so close together, would you be able to save up enough for these characters? So another thing you could probably consider is maybe not roll for Morgan when she's released, and then try going for her 2 months later, or maybe even next year. Of course, it would really depend on your luck, on how much Saint Quartz you have at the time, but I'm just throwing that out there because Morgan does have quite a number of banners that she appears in. So just keep that in mind. But I would highly recommend to roll for Morgan. But that's just me, especially since she is a Saberface. But anyways, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So for another thing, when the first Morgan, well, pretty much when the Morgan banner is dropped, you have Gawain, Fairy Knight Gawain, and Fairy Knight Tristan, or basically Barghest and Balba and Sith. Sorry, spoiler. I don't know how they're gonna go about these two, because in JP it was on the 4 stars were on rotation. In NA though, since we have the pity system, I don't know how they will handle the 4 stars. Whether the 4 stars will be on rotation and we will have multiple pities for Morgan, or if it will just be a flat out Morgan and then the 2 4 stars on same rate up, which kind of sucks, especially depending on how your luck is. But anyways, just wanted to mention that right away. But still, let's go through Barghest or Fairy Knight Gawain's kit. Her kit is actually very nice, especially for Grail front situations. So let's take a look. Increases attack. Her first skill increases attack, increases Buster Card effectiveness. So that's for 3 turns. When on a sunlight field. Okay. Her second skill increases Buster Card performance for 3 turns, grants Survival of the Fittest buff for 3 turns. So what this does is recovers her own HP by 1,000 when she normal attacks. That's basically 1,000 HP per attack for a normal attack. And then removes 1 latest buff from enemy when normal attacking. If successfully removed, 500% chance to reduce their defense by 10. So, that's the second skill. Third skill, reduces party's damage taken for 3 attacks for 3 turns, grants self-regeneration buff for 3 turns. In other words, the party NP gauge charges every turn. So, what's nice about this is like when doing the Grail front, since most of the time you could just bring her by herself and have her apply the second skill, and of course first skill, she's able to just heal through damage and stay alive quite well. So, and of course she also has defense, so another skill that will help keep her alive. So I've seen quite a number of people use her for Grail fronts. And then for her NP, Buster Card effectiveness to self, which is her overcharge, and deal damage to all enemies. Apply max HP up of 3,000 to self, and reduce cooldowns by 1 for self. So again, this will definitely help her reach her skill, be able to enable her skills faster, which in turn can help her keep her alive in Grail front situations. The only downside to her kit, though, but it's not that much of a... I mean, it is something, but she has a modifier where she gets an additional Buster buff on the Sunlight field. The thing is, she has no skill that activates a Sunlight field, unlike with some of the other servants. But still, her kit is already solid, even without a Sunlight field buff. And most stages are already in the Sunlight field anyway, so it really depends on your situation. But a lot of the times you don't have to worry about the additional Buster up, but still, her kit is really good as is. And my favorite ascension for Bargist is the second ascension. Just saying. Yeah, and then she does appear in quite a number of banners. So in the Lost Belt, she appears in the Morgan banner, Oberon banner, Morgan banner. Yes, Morgan banner. And Morgan banner again. Pretty much almost every time Morgan is out, you can definitely see Bargist or Balban Sith on the banner. So the question would just be more of if they will work on like how the 4 stars are done because of if that's one thing that's wrong with the pity, it's like it made getting the 4 stars harder in a way. But then again, it really depends on your luck, because if they will keep it at both Gawain and Tristan will be at the same rate up, and you keep getting Tristan and never get Gawain, I have seen that happen, and it has been annoying for that person since they wanted the other character. But yeah, that's the scary thing about the pity system, since they have had banners where the 4 stars do not have a rotation, unlike before the pity system where the 4 stars do rotate depending on like on a day-to-day basis. But anyways, the other fairy knight, Tristan or Balban Sith, spoilers. What's your favorite ascension? Mine is probably the second ascension. But anyways, same banners normally with Bargist, the same banners. Again, she will be on rate up with the Morgan banner. Bargist and Balban Sith are story banners, so if ever you do miss them, you could try to summon for them in the story banner, but I never recommend summoning on the story banner. So they will be on rate up with a lot of banners, so just just have patience, then you will get you would maybe be able to get them eventually. So she is a quick single target archer. Now I realize there are some servants that I haven't mentioned earlier. I haven't mentioned the classes. Oh well. So Balban Sith, single target archer, quick. So her first skill increases own quick card performance for 3 turns, grants self invincibility for 1 turn, grants party evasion 1 attack, and deals 500 damage without killing party except self. Wait, what? Deals 500 damage without killing to party except self. Okay, so party gets 500 damage. Okay. Again, this is a situation where I don't like it when they apply the attack buff to a survival, an attack buff and a survival buff on the same skill. I kind of hate that, but what can you do? Second skill is seal all enemies NP for 1 turn, seals their skills for 1 turn, and then charges her NP gauge. So that's a 30% charge. And then Fey Vampirism, which is her third skill, absorbs enemies' HP without killing. Amount of HP reduced on enemies equal to the amount of HP healed by the skill user. Chance to reduce their NP gauge by 1, and charges own NP gauge. So that's a 30% charge to herself. So in essence, she has 2 skills that charge 30%, which is nice. Then her Noble Phantasm, single target, quick. Noble Phantasm. Apply sure hit to self, deal damage to 1 enemy, apply curse of 1000 on 1 enemy for 5 turns. Apply damage over time effectiveness up to 1 enemy for 5 turns. In other words, increases the amount of damage they get. Hey Andre, what's up? So, again, same with Bargist. If you do plan to get to go for her, you could roll for her. Like, could roll her with Morgan. Or you could wait to the second Morgan banner, which is 2 months after the first one, and they will also be on rate up on that Morgan banner. Okay, so we have one of the, I feel like most, how would I put this? So we have Fairy Knight Lancelot, Melusine, spoilers. How would I put this? Let me think. Going over the 2023 servants. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so Melusine, well, we'll go straight to her Noble Phantasm because that's pretty much the key to her kit, if I would say. Because she is the first ever servant that we get that has 2 different types of Noble Phantasms. And how that works is depending on her ascension. Or I guess, yeah, depending on her ascension, she will have a different Noble Phantasm. So for the first and second ascension, she is a single target arts Noble Phantasm. So apply NP gain up to self, which is based on overcharge, deal damage to one enemy, and apply 1000 on one enemy. What's this? Apply... what is that? Okay, so damage increase of 1000 to an enemy for 5 turns. Damage taken, yep. And then gain crit stars of 10. What's nice about this is because she gets NP gain up on her Noble Phantasm, she's able to loop quite well. So if you need, like for certain challenge content where you would need a single target Lancer, she's very effective at doing it. And of course, as she keeps going, she'll keep getting NP gain. It keeps increasing the damage taken by enemies every turn, since this does last for 5 turns. Look at that. 1000 damage increase for 5 turns. So, yeah. Now, what makes her different is when she changes to 3rd Ascension. Nice, and I mean changes to Ascension. We'll more on that later when we go through her skills. She becomes a Buster AoE Noble Phantasm. So when she changes to 3rd Ascension, her NP will also change. So apply Ignore Invincible on self for 1 turn, which is very nice. Apply Card Up Buster on self for 3 turns. So in other words, if you're able to make her loop in this form, she does more damage over every turn, pretty much. Deal damage to all enemies. Apply burn of 1000 on all enemies. So, not only does she increase her buster depending on overcharge and does more damage depending on NP level, this also makes her a really good buster looping servant, especially when you pair her up with Koyanskaya and Oberon. But before we get to that, let's go over her kit, because this also plays into changing of the Noble Phantasm. So the first skill increases own attack for 3 turns, reduces own damage taken by 500, and increases own max HP for 3 turns, and charges own NP gauge. So that's a 30% charge to Barry Lancelot. So this definitely helps her, whether she is Arts or whether she is Buster. With it being only 6 turn cooldown, having Koyanskaya with Fairy Knight Lancelot or Melusine is very essential to making her being able to loop. Parry Dancer B, which is her second skill, increases own crit star absorption for 3 turns, gains crit stars every turn for 3 turns, and then gains critical stars. So this definitely also helps out with her, especially in challenge content where she is doing damage to a single enemy, and this will help her, like, as long as she's able to do Brave Chains and such, she's able to loop. So now we get to the most important skill, the third skill. So this skill will also change depending on her ascension level. So for stage 1 and 2, this will force her to change into ascension 3. And then will charge her NP gauge by 100%. And then gives her invincibility for 1 turn. That's insane. So, a lot of people were thinking that you wouldn't use this skill too much because, like, for example, if you're in a challenge scenario, why would you need to switch from first ascension to third ascension when you want to keep looping? And then in terms of farming, you want to stay on third ascension so that you're able to loop. So how that worked is on certain 90 plus nodes, this would be definitely key. And like, you'd have to also consider who you would bring as support, because, for example, if you bring Castor Artoria to help buff Melusine on her first and second ascension, Castor Artoria is an arts buffer, while, let's say, Koyanskaya buffs Buster. So you have to also consider who you're going to bring as support. But eventually, as people got to experience more of her kit, basically, she's like, the consensus now is just, she's just broken, pretty much. So, I did not complete skill 3. So what happens to skill 3 when she changes? So when she converts to stage 3, oops. Okay, so yeah. My mistake. I got a bit overzealous with the description. So, stage 1 ascension, stage 2 ascension will have her transform to stage 3 and then charge own NP gauge. That's 100% charge. And then when she does change to stage 3, this skill will then change into increase NP damage by 30% for 3 turns, and then gives her invincibility for 1 turn. So, if you want, what another thing you could do is you start her off at stage 1, stage 2. You use her third skill right away. That way, on the first turn, you already have an instant 100% charge for her NP. And then with her cooldown, with the cooldown only being at 5, it's a 5-turn cooldown. If you have her you have her with Koyanskaya. By the time she reaches the 3rd turn, you can use this skill again for that additional 30% NP damage. So, she is Fairy Lancelot is very flexible because of the way her kit is. She does have a few banners, not as much as Morgan, but still, you don't, like, if you, depending on your priorities, even if you skip this banner, or if you're not lucky enough to get her on this banner, which I would never wish on anybody, she does have another banner almost immediately, which is like 5 or 6 months later, which is during the Tunguska event in December. So, yeah. How can you use her with Koyanskaya if her skill is no longer has the 100% charge in Ascension 3? Okay. For using Melusine in her okay, so you would first start her with Ascension 1 or Ascension 2, okay? The thing is, you'd have to bring double Koyanskaya in the party, and then you'd have to bring Oberon in the party. So how would that work? On the first turn, you'd activate skill 3 to get that 100% charge. So that's the first turn done. On the second turn, you would activate the 2 Koyanskaya's 50% charge. So that's done. And then on the third turn, you'd activate her first skill for the 30% charge, and then Oberon's 70% charge for the third turn. And then by that time, the third skill will be refreshed, and you'd use it just for the damage up. You wouldn't use it for the charge. But that is assuming you have Koyanskaya, and that is assuming you have Oberon. You'd need Oberon, yes. But yeah, I would highly recommend to summon for her. But for me, depending on how my rolls go, like for example, I'll use myself as an example. Depending on how my rolls will go for Morgan, will affect my rolls for Melusine. If my rolls for Morgan go bad and I hit pity, I would wait for Melusine and I would roll her during the Tunguska event, which is in December later that year. But if my rolls go well with Morgan, I will roll for Melusine. If anything, I would say I would definitely roll for Melusine next year. It's just that it depends on how many Saint Quartz you have, and who among the LB6 servants that you will be summoning for. Just confused because when people say Koyan loop, I guess there are some servers that can loop with just Koyanskaya, namely Artoria Saber, Morgan, but if you hear them say Buster Loop, then that probably means Koyanskaya, or sometimes it would mean Koyanskaya and Oberon, because you need that additional charge from Oberon. Another example for that would be Maonobu. So Maonobu will be getting a buff next year, which makes her 20% charge skill on the third skill. It will increase it to 30% charge. Now that is essential for making Maonobu able to loop with a 50% charge CE. So as long as you have Maonobu with a 50% charge, her append skill unlocked, you'd use the third skill for the 30%, so that is 100% on the first turn. Double Koyanskaya on the second turn for the 100%. And then on the third turn, your Maonobu's third skill is refreshed, so that's a 30%, and then you'd use Oberon's 70% for the third turn. Oberon? I'll get to Oberon. We're very close, so I'll explain details on Oberon. We're very close. So next, Percival. If you're going to be rolling on any of the Lancer banners this year, or next year, sorry, be prepared to be spooked, because they will always have a 4-star servant of the same class on Rate-Up. So one example of this is Melusine and Percival. So they will be both on the same banner, so beware. So Percival is a arts looping AoE Lancer. If you already have, let's say, Melusine, Melt, Lambda, or Vitra, he's pretty much the same. I guess you could also say, in a way, he's similar to Fion. But he's definitely a Lancer that can loop quite well. His first skill increases Art's performance for 3 turns, charges NP gauge, and then increases party's NP damage for 3 turns. So that's a really ideal skill for looping. Not only does he have Art's card effectiveness, but he also does NP gain increase. Second skill, I I rarely you would use this on farming scenarios, but it does give him taunt, and then whenever he is hit, he does get NP gain up. So I guess in challenge situations, this would be nice. And of course, it would be, and since his third skill grants invincibility for 1 turn while recovering his HP, this does take advantage of the 3-turn taunt in a way. So as I mentioned, his NP is Arts, and it does AoE damage. So it applies Ignore Invincible, which is nice. Apply NP damage up to self for 1 turn, which is the overcharge effect, and deals damage to all enemies. And then restores HP by 3,000 for party member with the lowest HP relative to their max HP. So it's depending on who has the lowest HP, they're the ones who are going to get healed. Sure, but more often than not, you'd really just use this for looping or for farming scenarios. Sure. He does have so this is the Medicine Banner, download campaign. Yeah, okay, so yeah, pretty much every time there's a Medicine Banner, he's on rate up. Of course. One of the rare 3-turn taunts. Ah, yes. The only other one that I can think of right off the bat would be Georgios. So him and Percival have 3-turn taunts. But yeah, like as I mentioned, if you are going to be he is permanent, so he can spook you. But if you're rolling for Fairy Knight Lancelot, aka Melusine, just be prepared. You might end up getting spooked by Percival. So if you see gold orbs spinning, get ready, and hope that you get rainbow orbs. So just warning when rolling on that banner. And then that was the LB6 banner, the first 2 banners, and then we arrive at Anniversary. And the anniversary servant is Koyanskaya of Light. So, yep. I like her. I like the costume that they basically removed her coat on the costume. I really like how it looks. But anyways, Koyanskaya of Light is my number 1. I know it's weird, but for me, Koyanskaya of Light is my number 1 priority to summon for next year. Now, let's go through that. Why? So for her skill, Innovator Bunny. Charges 1 ally's NP gauge and reduces their skill cooldown by 2 turns. Deals 1,000 damage without killing the party. So that's a 50% charge and reduces skill cooldown by 2 turns. The reason why that is essential is because a lot of the times when you want to 3-turn Buster loop, you need to have the Buster unit that's going to be DPS have a charge skill. And having Koyanskaya of Light's 50% charge with the 2-turn cooldown will be able to reduce the cooldowns on the DPS charge. So for example, the easiest example would be Artoria Saber. So she does have the 30% charge on her 3rd skill, which is a 5-turn cooldown skill. So even if you use that skill on the 1st turn, because of the way Koyanskaya of Light reduces the turn cooldown, you'll be able to have the skill available again on the 3rd turn, which in turn is able to allow a lot of Buster units, not just Artoria, but a lot of Buster units to be able to loop. Now, it would depend if it would be just 2 Koyanskaya of Lights, or if you would need to add a 3rd unit to be able to loop. But most of the time, or not most of the time, but a lot of the servants, or with Morgan, Artoria, who else? Artoria Lancer, Mao Nobu. No, Mao Nobu would need Oberon. But anyways, so depending on how their kits are built, the skill cooldowns on the charge, you can just use double coin Sky of Light. Because of the Innovator Bunny skill. Now for the second skill, increase one ally's damage against human enemies. Oops. For 3 turns. So human enemies, that's very important. Strength up against humans. So this is very important a lot of the time. Especially since if you can buff this twice to your DPS with a double coin Skya system. But yeah. Increases their damage against enemies with man attribute for 3 turns. Then grants them attack on activate buff for 3 turns. So in other words, whenever you're... so this is similar to the Muramasa skill. But this is again with Buster cards. So I guess more in line with... Wait, who was it that needed Buster cards only? Anyways, so basically every time you attack with a normal Buster card, you get a 10% NP charge. And not only that, this skill also gives critical stars. So that's 20 critical stars for that turn. So, nice. Sounds like this double coin only works without Oberon if Servant has a 100% charge on 6-turn cooldown. Funny you should say that. But yeah, that's way into the future. We don't have any Servants that will come out next year with that capacity, at least at the moment. In the future, sure. So NFF Special A. So increases one eye's Buster performance for 3 turns, increases their critical damage of Buster cards for 3 turns, and increases their critical star absorptions for Buster cards. So I always mention Artoria Saber, and this is one of the reasons why. Because Artoria is able to change all of her cards to Buster cards with her second skill, this skill really works well with Artoria Saber. But in general, a lot of Buster units definitely are, just from the basic Buster up performance of 50% for 3 turns is just very powerful on its own. Even if it didn't have these, although I like that they're there, but like with just this stat buff alone, it's a very powerful skill already. So, and then with her Noble Phantasm, rarely would you have a use for her Noble Phantasm, but still, she does do AoE Buster damage. So what happens is she applies attack up to self, then deals damage to all enemies while draining charge to all enemies. I think that is a chance, right? No, that is a guaranteed charge loss. From all enemies, and then charge party depending on overcharge. So at overcharge 100, that's 10% charge to party. But yeah, in most farming situations, you'd rarely use her NP, which is similar to Scotty, but at least this one does do damage in case you will need a situation where you need to finish off an enemy with Coin Sky of Light. Right? And she does get quite a few number of banners. Like, we do... Let's see. So we get her during anniversary. Our anniversary is expected to be in July, if we're following the pattern that we've always done, which will be in July 4. And then, what is that? 6 months later, in January, she gets a second banner. Now, I bring this up because, again, she is in a period of time where there are a lot of banners back to back to back. So, If you need to help mitigate, your spending on Saint Quartz, or if you don't have enough, there will be a second banner for her not that long after. Although this will be after the Tunguska event, and you kind of do want to have her during the Tunguska event because that is a raid event. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm just putting that out there. She is definitely my priority summon. But I'm just saying, if you are not able to get her on this banner, you don't have to wait long for her next banner. Right? Okay, so Habatrot. Habatrot is a quest clear reward, and then when you clear... So basically, you get her when you finish LB6. Lost Belt 6. And also, once you clear LB6... she is then added to the Friend Point summon. Along with Saber Lily. So, if you don't have an AoE 4-star... if you don't have an AoE rider, Habatrot is actually very good as a 4-star rider. Like me, I don't have Da Vinci, I don't have Odysseus, so... if anything, Habatrot will probably be my go-to 4-star rider. So anyways, her first skill, recover one ally's HP, grants them debuff immunity for 1 turn, increases their star generation rate for 1 turn. Sure. Her second skill, which is probably the skill that you will be relying on most of the time. Okay, so the increase own arts performance for 3 turns, and then increases own charge by 80%. So, if you have her append skill unlocked, that's an instant 100% charge from activating this skill. Deals 2,000 damage without killing self. Alright? Now, this is the annoying skill that I hate using this skill, but there are times you have to use it, I guess. So, it's a targetable skill. Grants 1 female ally invincibility for 1 turn. Grants them guts status 1 time for 5 turns. Then grants them healing regeneration buff for 5 turns and removes their ailment buffs. Debuffs. With a 500% chance to grant self delayed buff of 1 turn. So basically, this is a demerit because after 1 turn, she sacrifices herself. So, if she does not use this buff on herself, she dies. Because she will trigger the guts. That's why you'd use it on herself if you want to keep her alive. But for farming, you wouldn't need this skill. I just find it annoying, but it's there. Anyway, so she is technically free. You can get her from clearing the quest and from summoning the friend points. So I highly recommend her if you don't have a arts unit yet. So here we go. Now we arrive at Oberon, who will be basically part 3 summon banner for Lost Belt 6. And would probably be for a lot of people, he will be the most important summon of the year. The reason for that is, we'll go through that. But first, let's go through the skills. So the first skill is Party Charge. So he charges the party 30% charge for 3... Sorry. So... Mystic Code plug suit in part 3, yes. Alright, so his first skill... charges the party's NP gauge by 20% and then increases the party's NP damage by 30% for 3 turns. So that's already 20% to party in terms of NP charge. But his second skill charges one ally's NP gauge, which is 50%, That's a lot of charge. 500% chance to grant them delayed buff. The thing is, normally you'd use this skill. That's why you'll see in a lot of Buster team comps, you use this skill on the last turn, because what happens is it has a delayed debuff, which is treated as a buff, so you can't prevent it. It reduces their NP gauge by 20% after one turn. So if you use this, let's say on the second turn or on the first turn, your next turn will reduce their your DPS, or the servant that you used it on, it will reduce their charge by 20%. So normally you'd use this skill on the final wave or on the final turn. But this is while the first and second skill is more on it's more for the charge, really. But what's important, I feel, is the third skill. So let's go through it. Increases allies' Buster performance for one turn. That's not important, although it is a 50% Buster card effectiveness buff. That's not the important thing. So grants them NP damage up boost for one turn. So which means NP damage up boost, which is temporarily multiplies the value of MP damage up unstackable. So what does that mean? So for every NP damage buff that you have on the servant that gets this buff, it's increased by 100%. In other words, you double the NP damage buff that the servant has. So for example, like here, increases NP damage performance for 3 turns, which is a 30% charge. Whichever servant gets the third skill buff, this 30% then becomes 60% charge. Or for example, if you have Black Grail, that gives NP damage increase of 80%. So what's 80% doubled? So that's 160% double NP damage because of this skill. It is unstackable, so in other words, you cannot use double Oberon for this buff. And it does a lot of damage. The problem with this, though, it gives a demerit. So at the end of turn, grants them the effects below. So it will remove their buffs, grant them Eternal Sleep debuff. So this is unremovable. What Eternal Sleep does is basically the person that gets this buff will be asleep till the end of the round. So you cannot use them anymore. And since they have taunt, they'll probably be taken out. The thing with this, though, even if you do have Plug Suit, they cannot be rotated out. So they're pretty much on the field permanently and cannot be woken up until the round ends. But that is a lot of damage. Now, the thing about Oberon is, sure, because of this, because of it enhancing Buster up, that's definitely good for a lot of Buster units. But the nice thing about this is, Oberon is pretty much a support, but for all card types, not just for Buster. I forgot to also mention, Oberon is pretty much our very first Pretender class in the game. I keep forgetting about mentioning the servant classes, but he is our very first Pretender class, and he is limited. So, if anything, the reason why also a lot of people will prioritize summoning Oberon out of any of the other servants is because there have been only 2 banners with Oberon. LB6, which is the banner that we'll be getting next year in close to anniversary, and then LB6 Road to 7, which is pretty much 2.5 years later. So that's why a lot of people are going to be prioritizing summoning for Oberon, because there are not that many banners you can get him. Sure, there are the GSSR, but that's not guaranteed. Well, gotcha is never guaranteed. But anyways, so that's why Oberon, for me personally, is my third priority. My first is Koyanskaya, my second would be Morgan, and then my third would be Oberon. But the thing is, that's just my personal preference. If like I didn't have Koyanskaya or Morgan on the same time period, Oberon would definitely be the priority unit to summon for, because not only does he help with buster units, but he can pretty much help almost any other DPS card type, whether it be quick, arts, buster. With the way his kit is built, he helps all of them pretty much. And with the implementation, like for those who don't play JP, like I'm sure you're probably aware of the 90 plus nodes that we get in events. In JP, they introduced the 90 plus nodes in events, and most of the time Oberon has been essential for most of the team comps for the 90 plus nodes, unless of course you have like a DPS that's like super whaley, like NP5 level 120. Normally you would need Oberon to be able to efficiently 3-turn a 90 plus node. So if you could only roll one, would it be Oberon? Well, for me personally, if I could only roll one, it would be Koyanskaya. But that's because she helps Artoria Saber so much. But if I'm not thinking of waifu and I'm thinking purely for gameplay, definitely Oberon. Planaxni, thank you for the follow. Did I get that name right? Planaxni, yeah. But yeah, if possible, definitely you'd want to get both Koyanskaya of Light and Oberon. But like I would say, like since Koyanskaya of Light and Oberon, they're basically like they do have, I think, 5 days where they overlap. I think based on their schedule, I think they have 5 days overlap. I would say maybe try to prioritize Oberon if you're able to get him and still have Saint Quartz for Koyanskaya of Light. Then get Koyanskaya of Light, because Koyanskaya of Light, you can probably wait for her. She has a second banner, which is only like 5 or 6 months away from the LB6 banner, which will be in New Year's. So unlike Oberon, his next banner will basically be 28 months away. So I mean, if you want to go all the way to pity, that is a second option. You get enough for double pity, one for Oberon, one for Koyanskaya. Sure. But yeah, it really. If I were to make a recommendation, it would definitely be, Oberon would definitely be a priority to summon, and then if you can, try to summon for Koyanskaya. So that is the LB6 gauntlet, as we would say, out of the way. But, I mean, sure, a lot of people hype up that it is quite a heavy time of year with, like, so many banners, so many good units at that time of year. But, like, yeah, it's going to be a gauntlet for your Saint Quartz if you're able to manage it properly. But, a lot of the banners, there are alternative times you could summon for the characters. So again, with Morgan, she gets another banner 2 months after, which is pretty much the end of the Oberon banner. Morgan banner will be on raid up again. So if you want to if you want to focus on getting Koyanskaya and Oberon, you can do that. And then after that, you can summon for Morgan. Or if you want, you can wait till next year. I think it's in April, where she has another raid up. So you can summon for her there. For Melisyn, she does have another raid up, which will be 5 months or 6 months away. Wait. So July. So that's August, September, October, November, December. So yeah, 5 months away, which would be in December later that year. So that's her second banner. So that's another option, maybe. Like you could skip Melisyn and then summon for her later in the year. Koyanskaya of Light. Again, she gets a banner 6 months later, which is during January, New Year's, which I think she's in the same time as the New Year's servant, which is Koyanskaya of Dark. Anyways, that's getting ahead of myself regarding Koyanskaya of Dark. But yeah, if you can only afford one, Melisyn or Morgan, I would say Morgan. The reason for that is because Morgan, not only is she a farming unit, but she can also be a challenge quest unit because of the Immortal Team comp. But that is assuming you have Castor, Artoria, and Merlin. So if you don't have Castoria and Merlin, and if it's going to be purely for DPS, I would say Melisyn would be a nice option, because Melisyn has there are a lot of difficult content which Melisyn, at least later in the year and next year, that she can do. But like for me personally, I would say Morgan. Morgan is a really good farming unit. So if you have Koyanskaya, she can farm. She is a really good challenge unit. And the thing is, you would kind of need Merlin, or maybe the year after when Lady Avalon comes out, sure. And then you'd have to have Castor Artoria. So, yeah. But I would say, like, if you had to pick between Morgan and Melisyn, I would go with Morgan. Okay, and now we get through another set of characters, which is Summer 6. I am wondering how they're gonna handle this banner, because again, we do have Pity. So will they change how they handle the banners? Because before Pity is implemented, the 4-star, like as I was explaining with the Barghest and Baba and Sith, the 4 stars before would go on raid up. So if you wanted a specific 4-star, you could wait till a solo raid up. But now, like for example here with Okita, you have Anastasia and Corday as the 4 stars for the Okita banner. So how will they handle that? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, I don't want to get sidetracked too much. Okita. She is a quick NP AoE looper. She actually loops quite well. Of course, I mean, even with because like for me, in my example or in my situation, I don't have any of the Scotties on my JP server. So what I would do with Okita, and it still works surprisingly, with Okita Alter. Okita Soji. So wait, no, right. Okita Alter Summer. She is a 5-star saber, and I would bring her in with a support Scotty and Castor Artoria. She is still able to loop even with that, and she can still do decent damage with that, even if I don't have double Scotty, which is nice. And I think it has a lot to do with how her kit is. So her first skill, attack up to self, quick card performance, buster card performance. That's on the first skill. The second skill, charges own NP gauge and increases own critical damage and increases own crit star absorption. So that's a 30% charge, which is always very good. Always very good to have Always good to have a charge on her kit. And then yeah, and then she also has NP gain on her third skill. Although that does grant invincibility for two attacks 3 times, but I feel like most of the time you would be bringing her for farming situations, and Okita does pretty well. She has pretty much her entire kit is definitely good for looping. She has a quick card performance, an attack buff, NP gain, NP gain buff of 30%, and then NP charge 30%. Pretty much all of the things you would need for looping. Although, of course, not as effective as some other servants, but still very, very, very good. She has an AoE quick NP, so it applies quick card performance depending on overcharge. That's for 1 turn. Removes effects with... what's that? Removes defense buffs. And then deals damage to all enemies. Which is actually not bad. Is NP1... normally, with a lot of the servants, ideally NP2. But, I mean, I have a lot of my servants at NP1, and I do just as well. Or, I mean, sure, they would definitely do better, but I think NP1 is enough. There are certain situations where having NP2 would be more for just ensuring the kill, if I would say. But NP1 is enough. There are times when enemies would maybe survive, but they would survive by very minimal HP. So you just have to make sure you pick the right face card. But yeah, NP1 normally would be enough. Yeah, Summer Okita Alter. Anastasia. So Anastasia, I believe, is single target, right? Yes, single target arts. If anything, I would say if you don't have if anything, I would say she's very similar to Kuro in a way. Let's go over her kit. So she increases arts card performance for 3 turns, and then charges on NP gauge by 50%. So that's good. Definitely will help her with looping. I would compare her to Kuro because she has, like, Kuro does have the triple card buff, but it's only for 1 turn. But she has that 50% charge. While Anastasia, I guess I would say she's kind of slightly better than Kuro. But the thing is, with Kuro, she's a welfare. If you already have her, you have her at NP5. With Anastasia, though, she is a limited servant. So there are the trade-offs there. Second skill, grants self-invincibility 1 turn, increases own debuff removal resistance for 1 turn, and gains crit stars. So that's 20 crit stars. And then for third skill, ignores evasion for 3 turns. Increases own crit star absorption of arts cards. Note, it will apply to arts cards. And then increases own critical damage for 3 turns. Increases own NP damage for 3 turns. So that's actually quite good. And then her NP, single target arts, apply resistance down to arts cards on 1 enemy, which is an overcharge. That's only for 1 turn though. Deal damage to 1 enemy, apply skill seal on 1 enemy. So yeah. Any chance for Kuro and NA? At this point, I don't think there have been any other reruns. So if you don't have Kuro yet, Anastasia is actually a good alternative to get. But then again, they do take note that she is limited, so I guess in terms of damage, she won't do as much as Kuro because she does. I mean, if you did the event and you got all of the NP copies, she would be at NP5. But still, Anastasia is still a very solid unit, especially with her kills. I feel like her skills are definitely slightly better than Kuro's, but they are similar. But I feel like Anastasia's is definitely better considering that her arts up is for 3 turns. She has NP charge of 50%, and then she also has NP damage up as well. Now, Corday, if you don't have a single target caster, Corday is a good alternative, because right now, like what? We have who are our single targets? So you have Ilya, who's a single target, limited 5-star. You have Sanzang, sure, she's permanent, but who knows when you'll get her if you don't have her yet. I mean, you could pick her from the 5-star selector that we will be getting in Anniversary, sure. But if you want to wait, you could, and if you're going to be summoning for Okita, you might have a chance to get Charlotte Corday, who is an excellent arts single target caster, which is probably what I need, because I don't have a single target caster. So I might try to get Corday multiple copies, if I have anything left by this point with the same cards, because again, we have the LB6 Gauntlet, and then we're going into summer. But anyways, so increases arts performance for her first skill, that's for 3 turns. Inflicts confusion status for 3 turns to all enemies. 30% chance to activate debuff below every turn when activated. So that's 500% chance to seal the seal. So it's which is to seal their skills, and then grants party evasion for 1 attack for 1 turn. Sure. Again, a situation where you have an attack buff and a survival buff on the same skill, but I don't think you have to worry about it too much. Second skill, chance to seal 1 enemy skills for 1 turn, gains crit stars every turn for 3 turns, so the star regen, and then increases party NP damage by 20% for 3 turns, which is nice. And then her third skill, I like her third skill. So, because you can apply this to herself, or you can apply it to an ally. So, you get a 30% charge to herself, but you could target 30% either to herself as well. So that's a total of 60% charge. Or you can target the 30% to another ally. So you get 30% for Corday, and then 30% to her ally. Shooting Caster hasn't come back so far. Oh, right, I forgot about Shooting Caster. And the thing is, I don't use Shooting Caster. But yeah, that is a single target, I guess, that I do have. Sure. But anyways, so Corday's kit, very nice. Her NP, single target arts. So the thing is, she deals super effective damage against enemies with skill seal. So that's why you have to be sure you're able to skill seal an enemy. And which is nice, is that she has her second skill, which will affect enemy. Skill seal 1 time for 3 turns. Or 1 time. Sorry, for 1 turn. Or they might be skill sealed by confusion, which is every turn. Every turn for 3 turns. So yeah, she does additional damage based on overcharge and level. So yeah, deals special attack damage to skill seal enemies. That's 150% more damage. Like, ideally, I want to try to get her at NP2, but that's just me personally. And then she gains crit stars, 20 crit stars after NP. So, yeah. Very, very solid single target caster. I would say, though, there has been quite a number of content where because I have Corday, I have her at NP1. But there is some content where I wish I had her maybe NP2 or possibly NP3. So if you do need a single target caster, she is definitely a good contender, but I would just have to say, because of certain content, you might want more levels for her. Leonardo da Vinci. She is the event welfare unit. She is a 4-star ruler. I remember when we first saw her, like we were like this is pretty much. Oh wait, she's pretty much a Pokemon trainer in a way. But yeah, anyways, so her kit. Thing is, we haven't gotten a rerun for this event, so be sure that you do this event, you get all of her copies, all of her ascensions, because we didn't have a rerun for this event, oddly enough. So if you don't have her yet in JP, I don't know when we will be getting another one. So yeah, be sure, like this is and also this is a very good event to farm. It's basically Lotto, but the priority is the Ascension mats you get from the event. So you should be able to get Da Vinci. No problem if you just farm the heck out of the event. Anyways, so she buffs all of her cards. That's 20% card effectiveness for 3 turns. Oh, sorry, not her cards. To an ally. So this is a targetable skill. Second skill, charges an ally skill. Charges one ally's NP gauge and increases their NP generation rate for 3 turns. So this is targetable. And then increases party's NP damage for 3 turns, overcharges party's NP by 1 stage for 1 turn, and reduces all enemies' critical attack chance for 3 turns. I mean, it's a solid skill, solid kit. Thing is, I feel like I rarely have any situation where I would need to use her though. Okay, and then her NP, it is an AOE. Wait, is it AOE or a single target? I forget. No, single target. So Buster NP, single target. When is part 2? Part 2 of LB7 in January. Okay, NP damage to self, 1 turn, which is affected by overcharge. Deal damage to 1 enemy level, based on level, sorry. And then gain crit stars. And then you'll have a random effect, whether it be increases increases the number of stars you get, NP gain, or attack up. I guess this is one of the reasons why, because of the RNG for her NP. But yeah, event welfare unit, only 1 time to get her at least so far, so I would highly recommend to do this event. Now for the second summer banner, which will have Kama. If you have Space Ishtar, you pretty much know how Kama works. But if I were to say, I feel like while Space Ishtar, not necessarily, but I feel like Space Ishtar does more damage while Kama is more consistent in a way. They are both 5-star Avengers, both limited units. Anyways, what makes Kama able to loop better, instead of an attack buff, she does get an arts card effectiveness buff, which also applies evade of 2 times for 3 turns. Another skill that has an attack buff and a survival buff in 1 skill. Oh well. And then normally for like the first 2 turns, you just rely on her first skill, and then for the final turn, you would use her second and third skill, which is her second skill increases NP damage for 3 turns, and then chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn. That is important because of her NP. But before we get to that, her third skill charges on NP gauge, so that's a 50% charge, and then grants self on activate debuff for 3 turns. Inflicts Heartfelt Blaze debuff for 3 turns to an enemy when normal attacking. So it will what will it do? Add trait Burning Love. when normal attacking. That is important because... why? Because of her NP. She is an Arts AoE NP. Unlike Space Ishtar, she is not able to change her NP card type, but still, Arts is pretty much what you'd need. So deals damage with super effective damage against buff charm. So in other words, if the enemy is charmed, they receive more damage. Or they receive special damage, which is affected by overcharge. Apply defense down 20% on all enemies for 3 turns. So that is after. There are no announcements yet, Poggers. But based on, since we are getting a stream on December 31st, we are assuming that when the January 1 patch drops, which is the New Year banner patch, they will also drop the second part. At least we're assuming. There's no official announcement. But Da Vinci Ruler is crazy good, especially with double coin Skya. Sure, but there are definitely other alternatives. But anyways, but yeah, if you already have Space Ishtar, there's no I feel like there's no priority to summon for Kama. But I mean, especially since she is drawn by redrop, Sakura face, a lot of good reasons to summon for her. She is a very solid unit. If you don't have Space Ishtar, she is a good alternative to that. Then for the 4 stars, we have Canis and Sei Shonagon. So we'll start with Canis. If I would just say, I feel like I don't like Summer Canis because I feel like she's just kind of I don't know. I feel like she's just regular Canis. Anyways, so increase party's attack. Her first skill: increase party's attack, increase critical damage of male and unknown gender allies for 3 turns. Second skill, increase arts card effectiveness, buster card effectiveness, and gains crit stars. Sure. Grants self guts 1 time, 3 turns, gains critical stars every turn for 3 turns, increases own critical star damage absorption on waterside battlefield. Waterside. So some of them on the waterside, they get additional buffs, and I mean additional crit stars as well. Okay. Her Noble Phantasm is Buster. That would be... let's see, single target? Yeah, deal damage to 1 enemy. NP strength up 3 turns. Sure. I mean, that would be great to have if she could loop it consistently. But with her being Buster, you can't really do that. I mean, a charge skill, right? Deal NP damage. Okay. Back up when on water field. Okay. I feel like, I mean, sorry to the Canis fans, but I feel like of the summer servants of this year, I feel like Canis is the... I don't know. I feel like the weakest, or not weakest, but like... no, weakest, yeah. Or at least, I don't know. I feel like her kit is lacking. But I mean, it is kind of a solid kit, but... I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of underwhelming, to be honest. Now, as for Sei is quick. She is also single target. which makes me just realize the 5-star units are AoE, while all of the 4-star units are single target. I just realized that now. Okay. Increases own card, own attack for 3 turns, increases crit damage for 3 turns, and increases NP gauge. That's 20% charge. Self evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns, increases own crit damage for 1 turn. So again, another crit damage buff. And increases own star absorption for 1 turn. I feel like I wish they made this 3 turns, but oh well. And then recovers 1 ally's HP, grants them burn debuff immunity for 3 turns, and gains crit stars. 25 crit stars at level 10. And then, say though, she has a lot of damage modifiers. So she does extra damage to humans, and if they are lawful alignment, another additional damage. And if they are shadow servants, wait. Yeah, if they are a shadow servant, they do even more damage. She does even more damage. So at least here, that's why I say I mean, Say is a bit underwhelming as well, but I think she pulls I mean, is better over Canis is because she has a few more damage modifiers than Canis. Wonder how many man and lawful servants. I mean, it's not man attribute, it's human attribute. Or is that the same? But yeah. So she definitely has a wider range of units that she does effective damage or extra damage to. Like with Canis, I believe it's just as long as she's in the field, she does get extra buffs, but that does not equate to more damage. Sometimes it's like, and it's more situational on the field, while Say does more damage based on the enemy. Don't know why it uses human. I don't know either. But yeah. So that is these summer servants. If I were to say, like, if you don't have Space Ishtar yet, and if you have Caster Artoria, Kama would probably be your priority to summon for in the summer. But I would say pretty much anybody from the Okita banner. So Okita, Anastasia, Charlotte Corday, that's a solid banner to roll for. Kama, just I hope you get her right away. You don't summon in summer anyway. I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you don't have Space Ishtar, and if you're looking for a solid arts looper, Kama is a good option. Now we have Jacques Demolay, who is like the Halloween limited 5-star. She is a foreigner unit. I remember when they first announced Jacques Demolay in Arcade, he was a 4-star Saber male, and then all of a sudden, the mobile version gets Jacques Demolay as well, but she turns out to be female and a foreigner and a 5-star, so that was kind of surprising. But anyways, so her first skill increases party's attack for 3 turns, increases party's critical damage, increases party's charge, that's 20% charge, and then grants party evil alignment except self. Interesting. Grants her second skill grants invincibility for 1 turn, charges on NP gauge, grants invincibility to evil alignment allies. So normally you'd want to activate her first skill, then activate the second skill, because without the evil alignment, unless of course your allies are already evil, but without the evil alignment, they won't get the invincibility buff. Is a cool design, yeah. Alright, Innocent Monster, which is her third skill, gains crit stars every turn for 3 turns, so that's 10 crit stars per turn. Increases own quick card performance for 3 turns, and increases own damage against enemies with curse status for 3 turns. which is interesting. So if you have Van Gogh or if you have Domon, yeah, you get a buff that increases damage. Her damage to enemies. Nice. But then again, you already have her Noble Phantasm, which is a quick AoE Noble Phantasm. She does grant herself an NP damage buff before doing damage. I just wish that she applied Curse before dealing damage. Because this would apply to her third skill where she does that increased damage to curse status, but since her Noble Phantasm applies curse after damage, I feel like it's kind of a shame. Yeah, I agree. It's a shame that the curse is not applied before damage. So, like I got lucky with summoning Jack Demolay. I did get her in JP. But the thing is, after the Halloween event, I've never seen a reason to use her after that event. So, but I feel like her kit would have been great. I think I feel like it's a solid kit. The problem is the thing that really made me disappointed with her kit was the curse being applied after damage on the NP. Okay. So for Zenobia, if you're looking for an AoE archer, if you don't have Jeanne d'Arc Summer, Zenobia is actually a very good unit to have. You barely like, and since she is permanent, she can spook you, and she loops very well. So her first skill increases arts performance for 3 turns, and then charges her NP every turn for 3 turns. Yes, so that's a 20% charge every turn. So, which helps her even more with being able to loop. Then gains crit stars every turn for 3 turns. So that's 10 crit stars per turn. She even got included in the guaranteed SR starter servant pool. Ah, yes. Well, that like she is definitely a good contender to summon for, but I ended up picking somebody else. More on that maybe when we get closer to the SR selector. That's gonna be no wait, no, not servant SR selector. That's SR starter servant. Yeah. She gets added to the tutorial roles, which is good. She has some great art assets. Yes, indeed. Okay, then grants self gut status 1 time, 3 turns, increases on crit star absorption for 3 turns, and gains crit stars. That's 20 crit stars for her second skill. The third skill increases party's attack for 3 turns and increases party's critical attack chance for 3 turns. So, sorry, critical attack resistance. Yeah, they're like pretty much the only rivals Zenobia has would be Atlanta Archer. But Zenobia, with her being arts, is just able to loop a lot more efficiently. So, speaking of looping, with her AoE arts NP, apply attack up 10% to self for 1 turn. Apply critical damage up to self 3 turns, which is affected by overcharge. Deal damage with super effective damage against king enemies. So, if anything, I would say since she is permanent, you don't really have to go out of your way to summon for her, but she would definitely be a solid unit to summon for. Now for Elizabeth Bathory, she is the, or Cinderella, or Cinderelli, or depending on how you wanna. Yeah, I call her Cinderelli. Anyways, the strongest Ellie. Yeah, pretty much actually. She is a 4-star rider, so she is the welfare unit we get from the Halloween event. So let's start with her skills. Grants self-invincibility for 3 attacks, 3 turns, increases own NP generation rate for 3 turns, and 500% chance to grant self poison with 500 damage for 3 turns. So she poisons herself. Okay. Red Hood Slicer, which is her second skill, which increases Buster performance for 3 turns, increases own damage against wild beast enemies for 3 turns, and then 500% chance to reduce defense, so another debuff to herself, by 10% for 3 turns. And then Glass Cinderella, her third skill, gains crit stars and charges own NP gauge. That's a 30% NP charge. And then 500% chance to seal own skills for 1 turn. You just have to be sure you have to be careful with using her skills, but basically the short version is that use the third skill last. Or if you're gonna use the third skill, make sure you have no other skills to use, because she'll see skill seal after using her third skill. Now, with her NP, it's like pretty much all Elizabeths have Buster NP. So remove effects with what's this? Remove debuffs to self, and then apply attack up for targets with Fairy Tale Servant on party. Apply attack up for targets with Fairy Tale Servant on party. I guess if you're a Fairy Tale Servant, you get attack up. Yeah, and then with her being a welfare, as long as you finish the event, you get her at NP5. So yeah. All right, 30 crit stars and 4 turn cooldown. That's actually quite good. Charge. And yep. But yeah, for a welfare unit, pretty solid kit, to be honest. Benny Enma counts as a Fairy Tale Servant. Yep. Basically any servant that has yeah, it's a decent chunk of servants where Fairy Tale applies. Okay, and then we have Izumo no Okuni, which is the limited unit for the Gura event of the year. She is a 5-star caster, has a single target, quick NP. So her kit, let me think. In terms of being a single target caster, which there are a limited number of, she is an okay choice. I have used her quite a bit, quite a number of times, even if I don't have Scotty. So if you still don't have like Corday or Sanzang, Ilya, she is still a solid option. But I feel like you just, like with Corday, you'd just be able to loop better. With Ilya and Sanzang, you'd have more DPS potential. But anyways, so increases her quick and buster performance, and has an evade for 2 times and 3 turns. That's for her first skill. Second skill, Star Absorption, crit strength up, which is essentially a really good crit skill. And then her third skill, she has a 50% charge, and then will also give a star bomb of 15 stars, and reduces skill cooldown by 1 turn. So nice. The charge and crit stars is to self, while the skill cooldown is targetable. So just forgot to mention that. And then with her NP, I mean, it's kind of great for certain situations, especially since the quick card resist down is for 3 turns, and that is applied before damage. And then she also does special attack damage to demonic enemies. So there are quite a number of demonic enemies, so you'll, especially in certain events, mostly a lot of good events, you'll have enemies that are demonic. So she does quite a lot of damage, especially when on niche. I really wish I could use her a lot more. The problem I have is that I don't have a Scotty, whether it be caster Scotty or Scotty Ruler, which I feel like for her kit specifically, Scotty Ruler would definitely be very good to have, since she does buff both quick and buster and does crit damage. So having Scotty Ruler would definitely be good for Okuni, but then again, that's Scotty Ruler will be a year after she releases. Finally, FGO streamers stream something that's not LB7. I mean, I finished LB7 already, so there is that. Anyways, and we get another welfare unit right away, which is Ranmaru X. Mysterious Ranmaru X. She is a 4-star Avenger, so she is the welfare unit we get. If I were to say anything about her right off the bat, she is an arts AoE NP, and she can loop quite well. Yeah, she's basically budget Space Ishtar. The problem is, if you're gonna farm with her, I would suggest putting the game on mute. Because her voice lines do get a bit irritating. At least I found it to start nagging at me a bit into like the event. You have been warned. But anyways, so some people like it, me not so much. But yeah, let's see. Her first skill increases one ally's crit star absorption, increases their crit damage, and removes their debuffs. It's nice. 40% chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn and reduce their defense for 3 turns, and gains crit stars, which kind of plays well with her first skill for the crit damage. Crit stars, crit damage. And then her third skill, which is pretty much the skill you'll usually be relying on, is increase arts performance for 3 turns, and then increase on NP gauge, and then gains 10 crit stars. So another skill that gives Star Bomb. The NP gain is 20% though. That is quite low, but with her being an arts based servant, it should be fine. You should be able to loop quite well. And then that's a 30% arts card performance. So yeah, a very solid welfare. And I believe it's the first Avenger welfare, right? Well, anyways, regardless, you do get her at NP5. I mean, though I would say even at NP5, while it does ignore defense, it is a bit low. 750. But then again, I guess a lot of AoE Avengers have these same values, so it should be fine. It should still do the trick. And then we have the second 5-star limited servant for Gura, which is Sakamoto Ryoma. So currently in NA we have Vitra on Raid Up, right? And then earlier in the year we had Melt. And then sorry, let's start so earlier this year for us, we had Melt, and then now currently we have Vitra. And then next year during Lost Belt 6, we're gonna be getting Percival. And then now we have Ryoma. Ryoma is a 5-star limited Lancer. The thing is, if you already have any of the previously mentioned Lancers, you really have no reason to roll for Ryoma. I mean, sure, he does have what is that? Where is that? Why is the... I know I'm probably thinking of something else, but like he has no specific niche where you would need to take him above over anybody else, right? So if you're already like with him being limited, if you compare him to, let's say, let's go with another 5-star. If you compare him with Vitra is permanent, so you might be spooked by her later down the line, and or maybe have more NP copies of her, with Ryoma being only one. Sure, he does have a 50% charge on his kit, which is his second skill, but a lot, like if you already have any of the previously mentioned Arts Lancers, I would rarely see a reason to summon for him. I mean, if anything, if you are to summon for him, it would be basically because of Oryu, not because of him. I just like peace. But yeah. So anyways, just going through his kit, he has arts up, performance, crit damage up, and then he does gives him overcharge one time for 3 turns. Charges own NP gauge, it's a 50% charge, which is nice. Then makes him debuff immune, buff and have buff removal resist. I do believe that there is a specific challenge quest where the reason why you would bring him is because of the debuff immunity, but like that's like very few in between. Am I gonna make a top 10 characters you're pulling in the future? I will be doing that, but not today. This has taken longer than I expected, so maybe on Friday I will do it. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow I might not be able to stream because I have plans tomorrow. But I do plan to make a list of like the servers, but right now we're just going over them one by one, so at least, you know, if anybody has an idea. That way I also have this as a VOD on the YouTube channel, so if you guys want to like see a specific servant, you can find that there. But yeah, I will do a kind of a tier list, but LB7 spoilers still forbidden for now. I mean, for me, I'm okay with it. I've already finished the part 1 LB7, but the thing is, there might be people who haven't done it yet. Making medicine MP2 is such a huge power up. Oh yes. Anyways, and then third skill increases arts performance. So you have 2 skills with Ryoma that increases his arts performance, which gets up to a total of 50% arts performance. So that's why he's able to loop very well. Not only that, but his NP does have NP strength up, so he is a decent damage dealer. He is able to loop quite well. The thing is, if you already have any of the other Arts Lancer loopers, there's no reason for you to take him over the others. Like, there's nothing which makes him stand out. Okay, and then now we arrive to the final batch of servants. So we'll start with Martha, who is the welfare unit. Martha is actually pretty good. It's just that she is very situational, where you would need her skill set for certain things. But so we'll start. Increases one ally's attack for 3 turns, increases their max HP for 3 turns, and charges their NP gauge by 20%. So this is a targetable charge. Her second skill seals all enemies NP for 1 turn and reduces their defense for 3 turns. Increases one ally's critical star absorption for 1 turn and gains 10 crit stars and charges own NP gauge. So she has a self-charge of 30%. And then her Noble Phantasm, she is a quick caster. So that's AoE, I believe. AoE or single target? No, it's not. She is a support NP, sorry. AoE buffer. Yeah. Restores party HP, will be affected by overcharge, increases party's attack by 20%, and then buffs party with increased damage against divine, undead, and demon for 3 turns. So, a car acquired. Oh, congrats. I'm good. But yeah, this is another event where we haven't had a rerun, so there's only one. This is the only time that you'd be able to get her, so I would recommend trying to get her in the event. Yeah, and it was like a short Christmas lotto. Like I think it was like only 10 days, and I don't think there was a Christmas servant this time. If anything, it might have been a rerun servant, but yeah. I mean, regardless, Martha Santa. There are I remember there were certain situations where I needed to bring Santa Martha, but aside from that, I wouldn't have a situation where I would need to bring her. But it would be because of the buffs. And then we arrive at the last banner of the year, which is also the last event. So during Tunguska, we get 2 servants. So the 5-star servant is Taigong Wang, who is a 5-star rider. He is permanent though, so he can spook. In a way, I guess you could say he is also a quick buffer, but it's just that you'd rather just look for a Scotty, really. I feel like he just doesn't do enough to be an efficient quick buffer. So, increase party's quick performance for 3 turns. Sure, that's although it's only 15%. And the attack up is also only 15. NP damage 15. I mean, sure, that's a lot of damage. Buffs, sure. And they're all for 3 turns, so that's definitely good for looping. Second skill, seals all enemy skills for 1 turn and increases own damage against divine enemies for 3 turns. Increases own damage against demonic enemies for 3 turns. So this is more for himself. I feel like if this was party-wide, this would have been nice. This would have probably made him a really good support unit, considering all his other skills are party-wide, and this is the only skill that's kind of selfish. So, third skill charges on NP gauge, which is 30%, and then charges party's NP gauge by 20. I feel like this probably would have been better if it was swapped, but anyways. So, he is a quick AoE NP, deals damage with super effective damage against all divine enemies, and apply resist down versus quick cards on all enemies for 3 turns. So I feel like they could have done a lot more to make his kit a little bit better to help quick looping, but again, like, you know, change this to party, and then maybe change the self NP gain to 20 and party NP gain. Oh wait, that's NP charge, sorry, to 30. But yeah, I remember I would jokingly call him Grand Wang because he's a self-proclaimed Grand Rider. But I feel like with the way his kit is, he doesn't earn it. But that's just me. And then we have Fubuki, Dobrynia. She is a 4-star rider. So, to be honest, I don't have much experience with Dobrynia. So anyways, let's go through her kit. Okay, grants self gut status 1 time, 3 turns. Grants self debuff immunity 1 time, 3 turns. Grants crit stars every turn for 3 turns. So that's 10 crit stars every turn. And then for Arts Up, Buster Up, card effectiveness, self, 3 turns, and it increases own damage against dragon enemies for 3 turns. Oh, and then charges on NP gauge. That's 20%. Increases party charge damage 3 turns. Increases party's damage against dragon enemies for 3 turns. Okay, that's nice. Then she has riding, which increases quick up, which is odd because she is Buster. But anyways, apply Buster card effectiveness based on overcharge, which applies first, then deals damage that pierces, ignores defense to all enemies, and apply burn to all enemies, and then apply defense down to all enemies for 3 turns. So, she is permanent. So I feel like there's no priority really to summon for her, but I mean, I would probably just summon her because I don't know, she looks good as a character, but I wouldn't I feel like there are definitely a lot better riders currently that you could or that you might have already. But yeah, I feel like Taigong Wang and Dobrynia, with them both being permanent, you don't really have to have a priority to summon for them, especially if you're going to be trying to save Saint Quartz, because you have Koyan Skya of Dark and Koyan Skya of Light for New Year's on 2024. So yeah, like you could probably just maybe hope to get the, if you really want to get them, you know, hope that they spook you in the later banner or something. But yeah, chat, that's pretty much a breakdown of the servants that we are going to be getting for 2023. So quick recap: Muramasa will be starting the year with Muramasa. He's a great unit, very good arts farmer. Miss Crane, she is a support caster, but with the way her kit is, I feel like it's too much of a hassle to use her as a support character, especially when you have other support characters later down the line that are just so much easier to use. Then Morgan is really good for farming. She if you have Koyan Skya of Light and Oberon, well, no, if you have Koyan Skya of Light, she's definitely good for farming. If you have Merlin and Caster Artoria, she's good to round up the invincible team comp. Melisyn is very diverse with her ability to change noble phantasm types, and she's a very solid unit. Koyan Skya of Light, pretty much my most wanted unit of next year, with second being Morgan. But the reason for that is Koyan Skya of Light just helps out so many Buster units, and she definitely helps Artoria Saber 3-turn loop. That's why she's my priority. She's my priority because she will help Artoria perform even better. But I feel like what's going to be number 1 on everyone's list is Oberon. Oberon not only has a 70% charge, but 70% charge to the party, or not party, but to a target unit. And he does not only buff Buster, but he basically can buff any card type team. And then for summer, Okita is a great unit for quick. But if you are going to be targeting Anastasia and Charlotte Corday as well, the Okita banner is a solid banner to roll for because these two are solid single target arts. Archer for Anastasia, Caster for Corday. But if there was a banner that you want to prioritize the 5-star, maybe Kama would be an ideal one because if you know how Space Ishtar works but you don't have her yet, Kama is pretty much very similar to Space Ishtar, and she can be very useful for arts looping and arts farming. And then Zenobia is also another character to take note of because she is a very good arts archer. She has no other counterpart that's easy to obtain because Jean Archer, she's limited while Zenobia is permanent. So if you need an arts looper, Zenobia is a good choice. But she is permanent, so there's that. And then yeah, pretty much the rest is more on preferences and who you would want to summon. But yeah. And I think I will finish there, chat. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I'll probably, I don't know if I'm gonna edit the VOD. Probably not. I'm just gonna leave it on the YouTube channel as is. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, I'll be finishing the stream here. I don't know if I'll be able to stream tomorrow. My plan is I have I'm celebrating late Christmas and my sister's birthday with the family tomorrow. So depending on when that finishes, I don't know if I'll be able to stream tomorrow. So if not, I'll stream on Friday. On Friday, I will be putting this. I will be probably doing this in a more condensed version and probably put it also in a tier list format. That way, it's easier to see, which ones I would recommend. But, I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you enjoyed the video / stream. And I will be back next time, alright? Oh, if you, feel free to, go to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button if you would so like to support the channel. Maybe even a like. Or, you could leave a comment on anything that I might have missed. And let's see. And, you could always catch me here. I stream almost every day here on Twitch. And I hope you guys will join me for the next one, alright? So, yeah. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And, let me see. Yeah, I guess I'll be finishing the stream here, alright? Good night. Raid? Let's see, can we raid somebody?
Open your magic circuit. Fight!
I see somebody. We'll send the stream over there, I guess. Oh, he is playing Dark Knight. But,